Hello and welcome to Path of Martial Arts. Today we are exploring the story of Salvador Hollywood Cuevas. Salvador is an amateur MMA fighter with Team Santos Jiu-Jitsu and the former lightweight champion of SF Combat. He holds a record of 3 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. His martial arts background includes Muay Thai, wrestling, boxing, and judo. Sal, how are you doing today?
Doing good, sir. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Oh, our pleasure, man. So I want to start way back at the beginning. Paint me a picture, Sal. Describe your life before martial arts and what sparked your interest. What martial art did you start with?
Well, I think I've definitely been a lifelong athlete. I started playing sports at a very, very young age. Soccer was the first one. And then from there, all your youth things, basketball. And then when I got into middle school, football, more basketball. Um, there was a small stint when I was like probably in the fifth grade where I participated in Palin's martial arts in Castro Valley. Um, that didn't last very long though. I was just playing mainly, yeah, just soccer and basketball. And then finally high school came, and then that's where it was just strictly football and basketball. And then I actually got my first fight my freshman year, and I want to say that's kind of when the whole fighting thing kind of started.
Wow, man, how did you feel when that fight happened? What happened in that moment?
That's a really good question, man. It started off as just kind of a bullying situation. I was in class, I was talking to this young lady. Turns out that her boyfriend didn't like the fact that I was talking to her. It was all this stupid little drama, and then next thing you know, I'm having to fight one of his friends. It's not even the chick's boyfriend, it's one of his friends. Um, but it's funny because again, the situation started on Monday and it went all the way into Friday. Now that whole week, Monday through Friday, man, it was a little turbulent. I was really going through it upstairs mentally because I've never actually really been in a fight before. Um, and yeah, I almost kind of avoided it, man. With that being said, my mouth did most of the talking back in the day. So next thing you know, I'm in the situation where these dudes or these group of dudes are lightweight punking me out. I'm walking home the long way of school. I'm avoiding certain places, dude. I didn't actually go to dress for PE for a while because my locker was in the middle of all these motherfuckers that had a problem with me. But anyways, dude, I Friday before I went to school, I kind of talked to myself when I woke up that morning, like, listen, dude, you can't be trekking around school or allow this to carry on because they're gonna think like you're some type of bitch here, bro. Like you gotta make a move, you gotta stand and fight. Something's gotta happen, dude, or else you're just gonna look like a punk. And
Mm-hmm.
then the rest of your high school days could be trouble, dude. So with that being said, I talked to my mom just before I went to school and let her know the situation, what was going on. Was like, hey, I may have, I may get in a fight at school, mom, because this is what's happening and this is what I feel I need to do. Um, and then yeah, man, I remember it. I was in class and they were throwing shit at me, and like next thing you know, they flicked a pencil and the sharp tip hit the back of my neck, and I snapped in class, dude. And I remember I called. I used some big explicative words. There was some foul language involved, of course, dude. I lost my temper, and then I remember going into break. Um, Nutrition, and I was just mean mugging the dude and kind of had my mindset like this is what I was gonna do. I was gonna fight this guy, and it's going down. I went to my older classmen friends who were seniors at the time. I'm just a freshman, and I was like, "Yo, dude, if this fool and his friends jump in, like, could y'all get my back? Like, yada yada yada." And then we had this huge freaking flock of people, walking around Castro Valley High, trying to like find a spot to fight, dude. It was the funniest thing ever. We finally had like this little window corridor, and yeah, dude, I kind of went for the kill. But one thing I did notice is when I called this dude out trying to stand up for him, like his whole demeanor and everything changed. Like I took this dude by surprise, and like next thing you know, his friends like, "Oh yeah, yeah, 1-on-1, let's make this shit happen." Yada yada yada. And like I said, I noticed a big change in him. All of a sudden, have his partners behind him. He was all of a sudden just a quiet kid. And finally, we found a spot to handle business. And yeah, man, I went straight in for the kill, and I just cocked the right hand back and just boom, smashed the kid right in the mouth. And I remember he just fell straight back and, fell on the ground, and it was over. As soon as that happened, dude, yard duties came in and broke up the whole thing. And, the fight was over right when it began. But with that being said, that's kind of where it opened a doorway for me because again I was hella scared to step up and to face that situation. Like I grew up in a divorce household. My dad was all the way over here. I didn't really have him growing up, especially in this coming a preteen age. I lived at home with my mom. I had my sisters, so I didn't have that male. I just didn't know what to do, and so
Yeah.
I kind of went back to, well, what would a tough guy, what would a brave person do? Like, what would a warrior do? And and I was just like, well, fuck, dude, you got to face the music. You're gonna get hurt, but at least you stood up and you fought. There's no shame in
Yeah.
that, whether you win or lose. So that whole emotional going to the head thing, it's again at a young age, freshman year, you're coming up as a young man, things are changing, your body's changing, your hellish shit's going on. So um when I was going through this process, I really learned a lot about myself, and it was a what ended up being a very great positive experience. And again, it opened up a door because when I actually threw a punch and when I connected, it felt very natural. And matter of fact, I almost had like a deja vu moment where I'm like, oh wow, like when I landed it, I kind of had my hand out there, like, oh, what? Like, oh my God, he's on the ground, fist, what? And everyone, who was there was just like, oh shit, this kid. So it was the whole school saw it, and it was that's basically how it started, man.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Great story. Thanks for sharing. So, did you sign up for boxing the next week? Was it wrestling or what was it? After this moment, you knocked this guy out and you're like, I'm starting to think about martial arts. It got some power. It opened a door. What door did it open? What style did you join? And how was that when you joined your first martial arts dojo or gym?
Okay, so you know, it wasn't till that next year where something happened. I kind of was just basking in that moment where I stood up for myself and it worked out. Everyone was like, "Oh, this kid ain't no bitch. Like at least he'll throw hands." And I
Uh-huh.
was riding that wave, and that was like my little coming of age, so to speak. And then I finally met this person. His name is Efren Gutierrez, and he was from down south, Tascadero area, and we met in science class, and he had this shirt on called like the Pit and MMA and all that stuff, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, we kind of just linked up. It just, it was a very natural friendship, and he told me. He told me about MMA. He told me about what him and his friends would do down in the Tascadero, how they had a fight club, how they would link up, and they'd have like this fucking little I kid you not, man, it was like a sand pit with a circle in it, and these kids were chunking them. This fool had video of this, and he's showing me this stuff, and I'm just over here like, god damn, these white boys are crazy.
Yeah.
And then from there, dude, I kind of got my first taste of like, just fighting for the hell of it, fighting for the fun of it. um I wasn't yet participating yet. I just witnessed what this fool came from or what he was about. And then he's talking about MMA and UFC and all this stuff, and I'm like, what? And then we jump on YouTube, and he's showing me, Fedor Emelianenko, the old school Pride fights, where they were just, getting down, dude, just vicious shit. And he's showing me this stuff, and I'm just in awe, like, God damn, these guys are modern day gladiators, so to speak. And he looked at me, he was like, "Yo, dude, like let's let's train, like let's fight, let's do this shit, like let's use each other as bodies, so to speak, and punching bags." And I would just had that one fight I just told you about, so I'm thinking I'm a tough guy. I'm like, yeah, yeah, why not, dude? We'll gain rep, and the bitches will like it. Like it'll be a good time, dude. And
Yeah.
yeah, dude. From there, we were just literally watching YouTube, watching MMA things. We were in his backyard, just throwing gloves, boxing each other. Um, you know, just scrapping. And then finally, he was like, "Yo, why don't we make like a fight club here? And let's fight kids around town. Like, let's throw some money down. Like, let's, you know what I mean? Let's record this stuff and let's start doing that." And so, one thing led to another, dude. And like, while we're in school, we're doing this, we're boxing in the backyards, dude. Other people and other kids are hearing about this, and they want a piece of it too. And the next thing you know is just me and the crew, and we're kind of just known for the rambunctious crew in Castro Valley, dude. We were just me and Effin were just scrapping, fighting, whoever wanted it, and that's kind of how it started, man. I wanted to be that person in school that no one wanted to fuck with, dude, and you know ironically, that's kind of how it turned out throughout the years in school. I was growing into myself. We were fighting. I was actually getting pretty good at it. And it was just mainly street nonsense, dude. You know what I mean? Just bare knuckle rubbish stuff. Just watching UFC and trying to, imitate it in the streets. But one thing I will say is we kept it relatively safe. Like whoever participated was a willing participant.
Hmm.
Um, I have a lot of setup fights, dude. Only a handful of legitimate street fights. Like I can only think of like four legit street fights I've been in, but I'll tell you, there's a shitload of organized fights that I've been in. From school, and even when I graduated high school, I was still sadly getting down. Whenever, but it really wasn't until my latter years when I was 25 when I actually got serious with martial arts and got the license to fight, dude, and really started participating in these disciplines, dude. Other than that, it was really early on just natural talent, just me being an athlete and me just trying to like push my limits of not only my toughness, but I think a big part that really helps me to this day is the mental toughness, like breaking through the fear of certain situations and being able to face them and face them with confidence, even though like deep down inside, like I'm shaking. You know what I mean? The heart's pumping. My adrenal glands are going like crazy. But I loved it. And the next thing I really football and basketball didn't work out because academically I just wasn't there in school. I just fucked off. Um, so yeah, dude, I just was scrapping for a cool minute just in the streets, dude. Whoever wanted it, man, I'd go to bars and just fuck a couple fools up. Like it was yeah, it was stupid, but that's what I was doing until I finally got official with it and got the license at 25 and really started getting disciplined.
Oh man, that's super entertaining story, Sal. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
And
but
I definitely want to talk more about F1 and other mentors later. But I think you brought us to a really good point in your story, which is talking about the moment you committed. So you were a rambunctious young guy getting into freelance boxing matches, and then when you're 25, you decide to get serious. Can you tell me about the moment you fully committed to martial arts, and how did it change your life, and what style were you focusing on at the time?
yeah, dude. You know, I will say, as a young man, leaving high school, I graduated. I didn't know what to do. Like I said, I didn't. I messed up in academics, so I wasn't going to any colleges on a scholarship or anything like that. Nothing special. The crowd I later got into it was nothing really special. A lot of my good friends too went off to college abroad. doing their own thing. So there was a moment where I was like literally in limbo, just sadly associating with like biker gangs and you know I'm gonna keep it real too. I was drug dabbing here and there, just trying to hold a job down, trying to be a productive, responsible young man, keeping money in the checking account. It After doing that for years and just ups and downs and getting a job, losing a job, getting a job, losing a job, it was frustrating. And
Mm.
and finally I want to say 25. I was at the time too. I was with a specific girlfriend, and she was making things happen. She graduated from college, and she was working at a corporate job, and she just with this schmuck over here who don't even have a part-time job, could hardly handle a cell phone bill, and it was really pathetic, man. It really was. There was a time in my life, as a young man, I was just not proud of what was going on, dude. I was just barely holding on, dude, and finally something clicked where I was like, enough is enough, dude. Like I'm tired of this. Like I'm tired of not holding myself accountable or responsible. I'm tired of making excuses. I'm tired of being afraid of of a dream deferred, so to speak, Um
Fuck yeah, bro.
and so yeah, dude, I put down the bud, dude. I kind of just focused up. I put on my running shoes. I went straight to a trail, started doing hill sprints. I started running, started working out, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups. Um, I got in touch with my old football coach, Ron Esteller, who I went to school with his son, DJ Esteller, throughout middle school, sixth grade. His father was our football coach of flag football. He actually gave me the nickname Hollywood. So that name was bestowed upon me in the sixth grade at a young age, and it stuck with me ever since.
That's
Um,
so cool. I always wondered about that.
Yeah, dude, I was again like a showboating kid, just cocky, but I backed it up. I was fast, I was athletic, dude. I was the standout, and so when you call me Hollywood, dude, of course it just kind of fit right in. But Ron Esteller, dude, is a grandmaster of Kaju Kempo,
Mm.
and really small world. His daughter was married, is married to Michael Mayday McDonald, a former UFC fighter, ranked at one point top three in the bantamweight division. Um, I called him up and was like, "Listen, I'm trying to do this fighting thing for real. Like, where do I start? How do we go about this?" And he brings me into stellar martial arts, which was known for its Kaju Kempo traditional style. Like DJ, his son, who I went to school with, he's the one who kind of in choreographed that MMA aspects, more particularly Muay Thai. So I was really working hand in hand with DJ early on. And both of them were using up any resources they had. Like I said, Michael McDonald would come out from Oakdale to San Leandro to personally train me and put me on game, put me through the ringer. Like his brother would also come down. I would go up to the Last Stand fight team up there in Oakdale and did a couple sessions over there. And literally, dude, they threw me in the fire like, hey, okay, you want to be an MMA fighter, huh? Like, this is what you want to be at? Well, let's see. Boom. And yeah, dude, I in 6 months, I was training hardcore, 6 months fucking straight. Because I wanted to get in the cage. I wanted to do it. And within that time, Michael McDonald was like, hey man, like if you want to be an MMA fighter, it is possible. And he was like, truly, I think too, like if you wanted to, you potentially could make it to the UFC.
Fuck yeah, man.
And then and
I want to ask you a question because I think you hit on a really interesting point.
yeah,
So you got thrown into the fire.
yeah.
You're being tested. Your commitment is being tested for the first time. Did you have any doubts or fears in those early months where you're like, Can I do this? Is MMA, is UFC right for me? Is this path right for me?
Yeah, yeah, and dude, that's a such a huge valid huge point because any little thug dude can come off the streets and, oh, I got some streets fights. Oh, I'm hardcore. I'm thinking I'm this and that. He thinks he's really, the greatest thing next to peanut butter and jelly, which, any man should be confident in within himself, of course. But then, yeah, when you get into this MMA world, you are humbled really quick, dude. You really do find out if you have that dog in you. You really do find out if you have that chin. You really do find out, like if you can walk through the fire and come out on the other side relatively unburnt. Um, so it was there was one night in particular where um I'm doing some heavy sparring with Brad McDonald, which is Mikey's youngest brother, and this dude was a stud in the amateur California days, dude, like hell of fights, like this dude knows what he's doing. And I'm still at the beginning of my sparring days, dude. Like I'm getting to know my stand up throwing hands and throwing with conviction. Like I'm learning. But in this particular case, matter of fact, I think you might be able to go on Facebook and look up because the clip might still be up there. But dude, I get hit with like with a straight left, dude, and it pops me right in the jaw, and my mouthpiece comes flying out, and I
Oh,
get stunned and just fall straight down and I'm talking I like a tree, and I'm for 2 seconds I'm like, oh,
oh
yeah,
no.
like dude, I got popped. And I remember I went to training, the next couple of days, and I'm over here trying to spar, and I'm, you know, a little timid about throwing, about engaging. It was funny. And even people in the gym are like, "Yo, dude, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just a little out of it." So I went home and I sat myself down and I was like, "Listen, dude, like, this is this is what you signed up for. Like, this is what you want to challenge yourself. Like, this is part of how you're gonna go through the fire to become a better man. You're gonna do something that you want to do, and it's gonna be challenging. And one of the things you want to do is whether fighting is one of the hardest things you can do in life, dude. I think the only thing harder than training for a fight, I think, is probably being an astronaut and going to space. Other than that, there's very few things that a fight that will compare to a fight. The
Wow.
the amount of work ethic, the blood, sweat, and tears, the pain, the mental anguish, like it's so it's hard. And so um I sat myself down and I really bit down my mouthpiece and I was like, "No, dude, like you are you are a warrior. Like you are a fighter, dude, in more ways than just this way. Like, in childhood, like, there's a lot of things I saw, like, I just had to fight, dude. Yeah, I had to fight. Um And so, yeah, man, I went to the gym the next day and I broke through that fear and I graduated to the next fight level to where I was confident enough to, yeah, finally get in that cage, dude, after so many months of training and do it for real and see how I fared. And having, Mikey McDonald in my corner behind me in my ear, telling me positive reinforcements and reinforcing me, like I said, both physically and emotionally. Um, I went into that first fight really confident, dude. And it's funny because I lost my first MMA fight, but I mean, I feel like anybody who watches that fight will know like the judges got that one wrong. And
Okay.
yeah, you know what I mean. But regardless, that's after that fight, I knew like, yeah, dude, I can do this. I can do this for real. Um, I'm a legit MMA fighter. I'm not someone that not to be trifled with.
That is so awesome, man. I deeply admire your strength, Sal. That's really impressive because you're right. A lot of people, if they get knocked out like that, they're going to back off. So I feel like we've touched on a couple of really amazing people in your journey. There was Effin, who you were doing some scrapping with. You're young. He really helped so much and fostered the side of you. And was it Bobby? What was his last name? Bobby, your teacher?
It was
Um,
Ron Esteller,
oh, I'm
and
so sorry. Ron
and his son DJ.
DJ. Okay.
Yeah.
What is a lesson you learned from these three men that helped you on your martial arts journey?
Well, unfortunately, my buddy Efren, as time grew on and we were, coming into our young men selves, we went different paths. Unfortunately, he wanted to play with guns and drugs, and that life only will take you so far. I went the down the other path, which was um, kind of pursuing this dream that we both had when we were younger, which was fighting. I really fell into it. So he taught me, he was my reminder of the other side. Like, hey man, like this is you could have went down that path too, you
Oh, that's
know.
such a lesson. Yeah.
So you went this way, he went that way. You can see how both of your lives are comparing and are either harder or easier. Um as far as Ron and Ron Esteller, um, I'm just talking. He's a man that just from day one, had love for me, and from day one, he was trying to, oh man, you should come to my dojo. You should come and do martial arts. And finally, I just, when I finally reached out to him with these goals in mind, he was 100% like right behind me. You know, he didn't charge me for class. He did everything possible to help me out on this journey to get where I'm at now. DJ too, like again, his son was there with me every step of the way, dude. He was there with me my first walk to the cage. It was a big moment for both of us because again, from we were kids to being young men to where yeah I came to him with this dream, and he had the tools and resources to help me out. So again, because of DJ and his family, they introduced me to Michael McDonald, who's my MMA, just dipped me in the MMA world. And then after that, we somehow got in touch with Miriam Nakamoto. Miriam Nakamoto is if not the best female Muay Thai fighter to ever do it, man. Like if you ever seen this chick fight, she's absolutely, you'd think she was a dude. But yeah, she's fucking vicious, man. She has just a champion mentality, a champion work ethic. She taught me a whole bunch of stuff that I was able to really utilize. Matter of fact, when I had my first licensed Muay Thai fight, she did not corner me, but she did show up. And when she did show up, it made me feel good. And when I got that W, it was great. And that is another thing too. Yeah, the with a total of 7 MMA fights, I do have one licensed Muay Thai fight as well. That I still remain undefeated to this day.
Oh,
So one fight, and I was like, okay, I think I'm good. We'll go to MMA. But she coached me through that first Muay Thai camp. Um, and that was a learning process too, man. I mean, I got injured just a couple weeks before that fight, with the back issue, and then I put on like weight, and then I had to cut 10 pounds just days before the fight, and like I said, a lot of grinding, a lot of personal perseverance, and then we got the W, and again, DJ was there for that, and was able to walk me through that whole thing and really guide me. So you know, there's a lot of people really. That's just kind of the tip of the spear. Um, but they are without a doubt the ones who whole started this whole thing. Efren and with the whole when we were kids showing me what MMA was, and then later on in life, Ron and DJ Stiller really immersing me in that world and to where I am now, to the team and the resources I have now, and to my ultimately me being an amateur champion.
That's awesome, man. And we might touch on more mentors later. For the time being, we're going to move forward. I want to hear about the most significant, tough motherfucking challenge you ever faced in martial arts. It could have been a competition. It could have been a personal hurdle. Maybe you got injured. Maybe you were scared. How did you overcome that challenge? And what did you learn about yourself from it?
Yeah, dude. So when I started my amateur MMA career, the first fight was a loss, and then I came back um,
Yeah.
with a win, and then that was against you know, we're not going to say yeah, we'll call it a rival gym, Dragon House, because there's a little history there of a fight that should have happened but didn't. But yeah, when I fought that,
Oh,
I think is Muhammad Jihad, is who I fought, and I just threw an ass whooping on that dude. There's a win right there, and then we got another win. And this particular gym, my team was just beating this gym's ass. And then this next fight I was in was a challenge against this same gym. I don't. I think it's called Jim Salguera. I can't remember. Um, but my opponent, I was giving him the business. And this was for two belts, mind you. This was for the SF Combat Champion and um, the West Coast belt as well. There was two belts on the line. Yeah, dude, there's
this was
two belts on the line. So I want to say I only had a couple of amateur regular fights, but for the most part, man, a lot of my past amateur fights have all been championship fights. Um, so I've been in I I'm at that high level to where I could definitely transition to pro, but I'm a firm believer of of mastering the amateur level and getting these basics down. But back to the point, I had this fight with this gentleman, was beating him up really good all fight. And then apparently I grabbed the cage. The ref took a point, which caused a draw in this situation. I was beating him up so good that typically when you get a point taken in a fight, it's game over, you lose. But I was so dominant that the judges called it a draw. Now we did have a rematch, and during the time of that training camp before the next rematch, I later found out I injured my L5, and it might have been from the fight, from fighting his teammate, because I fought this gentleman that I fought before. I just fought his teammate before, and his teammate had a pretty good slam on me, which kind of twisted and contorted me, and I believe that's where I got my lower back issue from. Um, but in that camp, something was wrong. I couldn't pinpoint it, and I still carried on with the fight. I still took the fight. We went the distance. It was the dude barely got away. It was a split decision. He did win, but he won because I'm over here going through a camp with a messed up back. I didn't know how bad it was. Um, I didn't want to pull out of a fight because it wasn't who I am. So I tried to squeeze through that one, and when I tried forcing that situation, I ended up really putting myself in a real bind, because not only did I go into that fight not fully 100% physically ready, the gas tank, there's just many factors because my lower back was jacked up. I couldn't run on the track. Um, it just wasn't a good camp. Fought anyways. We almost won. But that being said, after that fight, dude, I really further, injured my back even more.
okay. So the doctor said your fighting
Yeah,
days
man.
were
So
done. What
hearing
happened
that
next?
was definitely really hard, because at the same time too, dude, I'm becoming a new daddy. I just became a brand new daddy here, dude. So I'm trying to pursue a dream. I'm also having to become a provider. And so when I can't pick up my child from her crib and go to work, all of a sudden like reality kind of sets in on me, dude. And it's like, whoo, man, I love fighting, but it's not paying the bills. And I'm clearly really sacrificing my body in these situations. And in this particular moment, I'm screwed. My lower back's hurt. I'm not working. I can't pick up my child. It was a very scary situation. Um, can you still hear me? Okay, yeah. And
I got you, buddy.
it was very scary, man. And so I stayed out the gym. I reassessed, and honestly, when I tried taking it easy, I found out my back was hurting me even more. So, it was like a really weird situation. When I stopped training, I was in more pain. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And finally, like I said, I had enough was enough. I told myself like, no, I'm not gonna let these doctors tell me that my fighting days are done. I'm gonna find some type of solution. I'm gonna figure something out to where I can somehow reverse this, or at least make training bearable. Like I gotta be able to train. I gotta get one more fight, dude, because I'm not gonna end it on this loss. And yeah, dude, I went back to the drawing board. I looked at my situation, other people who had similar stories or situations. I started doing specific ab workouts. I saw a different chiropractor. I got a different opinion on things. And the next thing you know, enough time went by to where um, I was able to get back in the gym, slowly rebuilding it. The most important part was I was able to get back on the track and start running again. And that's when I knew, okay, I broke through a threshold. Like, don't get it wrong, I still feel it. I still got to do maintenance to it and all this, but I know that when I exercise and do core things and certain things to help the lower back, it does actually feel better. So the more active I am and the more I train, it feels better. As weird as that sounds. But yeah, dude, I didn't take no for an answer. I got back on the horse, dude, and my next fight was another title shot, and I took it, and I got the title. I won the interim SF Combat Lightweight title, and yeah, it was a
Woo!
long journey, man, because I was out for a while. I took like a year and some change hiatus. It was definitely challenging, but when I got back and when I was finally able to have an amateur title around my waist, dude, it was definitely very gratifying, and it definitely showed me like, hey, dude, like with great power comes great responsibility. And I tell everyone this, like, you need to aim high. You need to set your standards, and you need to set your goals high, because you have to challenge yourself. Part of I think the most important part of the journey is not necessarily the end result, but the process it took just to get there. And what people really need to understand with fighting is there's so much that goes in to just 9 minutes. You know what I mean? Amateur rounds are 3 minutes apiece after you have so many fights. When you go to professionals, they're 5 minute rounds. But, you know, you're over here going balls to the wall for 3 rounds for 3 minutes, and you're training for at least 3 months, for just these minutes. And so when it's all over, you're either
Yeah.
winning or losing. And so you just hope to God if you lose, you don't get fucking knocked out or your ass beat. And you hope if you win, you hope it didn't cost you too much. Um, because again, at the end of the day, you're not pulling in a huge check from this. This is something that you're doing on your own time, but you're building yourself up. You're building your soul up. You're building, you know what I mean, that your so-called essence of why you think you're here right now type of in your life. And so putting yourself to the flame, coming out, whether you win or lose. Anyone who gets in that cage, whether you win or lose, you're an absolute beast and a champ. So hats off to any fighter out there who goes in there, even if it's just one time. But it's the journey, it's the steps it takes just to get to that moment that I feel is really, really important. Because when I got the belt, it felt great. But looking back, it was the tears, dude. It was the like, oh fuck, dude, like, you're gonna go back in there again. What if you get hurt? Like, what if you're done? What if, there's so many things that you're thinking about by yourself because yeah, you're in the gym training with your teammates, but when you're a dad working a full-time job, coming home just to, hug your daughter and get a quick snack before you're out to the gym, or we have to hit the track for a little bit and like do this shit 7 days a week, dude. Like it's hard, dude.
That is amazing, Sal. I mean, that was such an ordeal that you overcame and such an accomplishment afterwards and such a learning journey. This is just really, really awesome stuff. When I mean, I thought that your achieving of the belt might have been your greatest achievement, but after hearing what you've said, I have to ask, was earning the lightweight title belt of SF Combat your greatest achievement, or was it something else? And how did your greatest achievement affect your martial arts
So
and your life?
my greatest achievement right now for sure is definitely being a daddy. Um, that came out of nowhere when it did happen. Um, I just rolled with the punches, dude. I just want to know, or you know, I was scared shitless. It was very, very scary when I found out I was becoming a dad. I was just, my lady that I was with, we kind of just started something, and the next thing you know, we're in this situation where she's pregnant, and we're looking at each other like, oh. So it was very scary. It came out of nowhere, but we decided that we were going to step up to the plate, and for me doing that, my whole life changed. Um, I mean, just completely 180 changed for the better. And my daughter is 100%. My daughter and my lady are 100% responsible, and my lady's family for everything that's happened. So being a daddy and training and getting that belt and coming back to her and showing her and her seeing it and reacting it, that was my greatest achievement because she will remember that. She will remember seeing daddy coming home with this, and I'll always have this momentum to show her like, this is what daddy did, this is what makes daddy happy, this is the work that dad did, and this is a result of that work, you know. Um, so I feel the story and the lesson and having my daughter see that, I feel like that is my greatest achievement um to date. I'm not saying there's definitely potential, there's always potential for more. There will be many more. I like to think I want to reach and strive for more difficulties and challenges, but I can honestly say, like, being a daddy right now, dude, is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
God, bro, what could be a greater achievement than that? That is just so beautiful, truly. So, Salvador Hollywood Cuevas, if Hollywood approached you and said, "Hey, Sal, we want to make a movie of this story," what would the title of your
It
movie
would
be?
be like probably Johnny Cage who? The story of Hollywood. I would probably want to show Johnny Cage up for sure. You know, I think that would be a pretty
All
fun little
right.
skit.
Oh man, that's cool, man. All right. And gosh, man, we've been through a journey here. You've come such a long way and you've shared so many things that you've learned. But I think talking to an audience of, martial arts themselves, whether they're, training in karate or they're looking to try their hand at MMA like you, or they're just really interested, what are three core lessons you might say that could really benefit the people who would listen to this or read the article I'm going to write
Um,
about you?
Three core lessons, huh? Now, the first the first lesson I can honestly say is you're gonna get embarrassed. You know, you need to be mentally accepting and okay with the fact that, you're gonna be someone's baby. Um, you're gonna be a beginner. Like you're gonna in jujitsu when you start rolling and with, you're gonna be choked out ferociously. Like you're gonna be learning things and you're gonna feel so helpless. Um, and it's gonna be very, very challenging and it's gonna be very discouraging. So don't be embarrassed by that fact that you're a beginner. Because you have to be hit a couple times, you have to feel things a couple times in order to get to the next level. So that's the first thing is accept embarrassment. Um, Second thing is, what they say, if you're gonna ride a bike, you're gonna fall. Um, if you're gonna fight, you're gonna get hit, and you could get hit hard. You could get, you can catch a shin. I've caught a shin to a jaw by my middleweight captain, and my back teeth just exploded. I fell to the ground, and I'm just spitting up pieces of teeth. Fortunately for me, my godfather is a dentist, and he was able to repair the damage that was done. But I can't emphasize enough. Like I said,
Easy.
you're gonna get hit, and you're gonna really find out if you're really about it. Like I said, I had a moment like that myself. I got popped,
Hmm.
and there was a moment where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know how I feel about this." But that's that's a big thing. You're gonna be hit and you're gonna go through fire, and you just have to know that this is part of the process to make you a better fighter. Um, and you know, the last thing I can honestly say is you have to you have to listen you have to listen to yourself. Um, I feel like a fighter's mentality is and fighter truly knowing himself is is a really, really big deal because this isn't a tickling contest. This isn't basketball. This isn't football. This isn't baseball. You don't play fighting. This isn't something you play. Like this is a sport. This is a combat sport, but this isn't a game. There are real life consequences to this passion. To heart and soul is not in the fight, and you are not focused. You are asking to get hurt, and in this sport, you could get hurt for the rest of your life. Um, so you need to go into this with a full heart, and you need to focus. Like when you have a fight coming up, you need to give everything to that fight. You need to focus, you need to bite down. You're going to have to change a lot of things. You're going to have to mold into a different person because you are going into an arena. You're going into a violent situation to test your work ethic and your opponent's ethic in whatever training you're doing, whether it's jujitsu, MMA, boxing, you're in there to hurt each other. So if you're not prepared for that, if you're not ready to kill, you shouldn't be in there. And one of my I think I'll end it with a famous quote. And there's a fine line between um being peaceful, and there's a fine line between being harmless. Now, my definition of peaceful is you have the ability to inflict violence and hurt people. So it's your responsibility to maintain the peace. And so you got the other side to where you have your average Joes just walking around that are just that are harmless. You have to know the
Yeah.
fine line. There's peaceful people and there's harmless people, and just
Hmm.
keep it respectful because you just don't know who's harmless and you just don't know who's peaceful.
Don't be trash talking too many people. You don't know who's a lion. Keep the
Just
claws to
like
themselves.
there's cars on the track that are look like little Hondas, but they're sleepers with 100,000 horsepower underneath the hood. You just don't know these days.
Hmm. Oh God. Well, thank you, Sal. That was such awesome advice. I got three more questions for you. You've been in some
Yeah,
fights,
yeah.
like street fights. And I think a lot of people who get into martial arts, in the back of their head, they're always thinking about, what if I got into a fight? What if I were ambushed? What if I had to defend myself? What if the time has come? Am I going to be harmless, or am I going to stop being peaceful? What is your approach for self defense?
So, when it comes to MMA fighters getting into street fights, I know when I started training, I did get into a street fight at the beginning of my training days, and I fought a gentleman who was way bigger than me. He was considerably bigger than me. But with that being said, I got jumped in this particular moment where I fought him, and then his friend came out of nowhere and tried to do something. Now, both of these individuals did end up in the hospital. It was a very, very scary ordeal. At the time, I was just training MMA. Actually, no, I did have the license. So my hands were registered. If the police did catch me at that particular moment, it would have been bad news bears. But fortunately for me, those individuals confessed to starting the fight, and there was, nothing really came of it. But I always tell people, dude, like if you're a fighter, if you can avoid the fight at all cost, avoid the fight at all costs, because it's just in the courtroom eyes, regardless of the situation, you were the hands where you're the weapon, so it's always going to be your fault. So unless your life and your woman's life and your
Hmm.
family's lives, is not, on the line, don't even engage. Let the dude call you a bitch. Let him all sell you're not a real black belt. Whatever. He's right. Just walk away.
That's it takes, I think, a lot of strength and manliness to handle those sort of things. Men, when someone calls us out, it's tough to resist that. That's such good advice. Thank you for sharing that. Sal, do you have a favorite piece of martial arts equipment? Like maybe it makes your training better. Maybe you just love using it. It could be a glove. It could be something, an ointment you put on yourself to help soothe the bruises. It could be, I don't know, your favorite shoes when you go running on preparing for your camps. Do you have anything that really stands out?
Um, I will say, dude, I'm a very emotional fighter. It's really funny how often I actually cry in my camps. I will I actually really, really enjoy going on outdoor runs in the dirt and trees. And I really like zoning out with um, probably my favorite composer is Hans Zimmer. Yeah, dude.
Oh,
He's a
he's
matter of fact,
awesome.
I think
Love
they're
him.
coming. He's coming to Oakland, I think, soon to perform. We should catch that together, dude.
Really,
Yeah, that'd be
we
fun.
should catch that.
Um,
That'd be
but I can honestly say, dude, I like to get on the dirt and I like to run my miles, dude, and I like to visualize while I'm running. the process, the fight, and how well I'm gonna do. Um, I'd like to utilize that time to like really kind of get compare the fight, when I'm running up a hill and I'm about to die, and you know what I mean. This is the fifth round. This is the dude's on top of you, like he's got your baby in his arms. He's about to snap her neck. Like, yeah, this is the stuff I'm thinking. Yeah, this is the stuff I'm thinking about, dude. And yeah, I can honestly, I do enjoy my music and my runs because it just kind of allows me to focus in and kind of have a tunnel vision of what I'm about to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some music, just getting it in as you're doing your run is an essential
It's
martial arts
it's
tool
it's
for
part of my
your training
meditation
and
process for
preparation.
sure.
Awesome, man. So we're at our time, Sal. So I got to ask, what's next for you? Are you aiming for higher ranks or competition wins? Do you think you might teach one day? What's next for Hollywood,
I
Sal?
think the last fight was a championship fight. Um, and I was thinking to myself, this possibly could be the last one, depending on how it went. And honestly, I'm still hungry. Like I still kind of have that fire in me. My last fight was against a really game opponent, Trey Orlando, undefeated fighter. Great skill. He has a bright future ahead of him. Definitely thoroughly impressed with his performance. Really taught me a lot about myself. But at the same time, too, it also made me realize, well, hey, I actually still have a lot more in the tank, and if I can give this youngster who was 14 years, younger than me, a legitimate run for his money, I know without a doubt I was his toughest fight to date. He's finished all of his opponents before me, um, and he wasn't able to get the finish with me. I took him the distance, so. Um, definitely still a little sour that I lost because I had the potential to beat him with the triangle choke, but he was a strong young man and he persevered. But I'm still hungry. I still want to compete. I think I'm gonna get back out there real soon. I want to say hopefully by the end of this year, maybe December card. And I wanna get my W back. I want to be back in the win column.
Awesome, man. Hey, if you ever get there, I would love to hear about it. And I'll be sure to make some tweaks to the article I'm going to write based on this podcast to represent the future of Salvador Hollywood Cuevas. And thank you so much, Sal, for joining us today. And I got to say, man, just listening through your story, you've been through so much. But I think you could teach a lot of martial artists and a lot of men and a lot of people that when the going gets tough, you have a chat with yourself, you ask yourself what you want. And also, when you face adversity, am I going to cave? Am I going to run away? Am I going to never look at this side of my life again? Or am I not going to respect myself for that? And that pain would be worse. And I don't want to see myself as that kind of man. So, as painful as it is, as hurt as I am, I'm going to get back in there. And I just see that in your story, man. It is beautiful. You're an inspiration. You're so strong. So thank you so much, Sal, for joining us. Been great listening to your story.